Fika, which is often described as a quintessential Swedish tradition. Could you elaborate on what Fika is and how it reflects broader Swedish values?
Well, maybe we should start with our fika because we have a fika here, right? Fika could be a cup of coffee or a cup of tea like we're having now. Maybe taking a break from the ordinary work when you're sitting, in front of your computer or you're climbing around on a building that you're building or something. And you sit down with colleagues and you talk about things, maybe about work, but also maybe about other things. And I think especially in a workplace, the word fika has, of course, it's a way to take a breath and have a rest, but it's also to talk to other people, maybe not the ones that you're working with all the time, but maybe the ones from the section next to you. So you get new ideas, new reflections, and you can talk about other things. And that sort of enriches you in your work life, hopefully. You get new ideas by talking to as I said, the colleagues on the other sections, but also to share something, a nice moment like a cup of tea or coffee, right?
This interview session might be called Fika?
Yeah, why not?
Work-life balance รัฐสวัสดิการรางวัลโนเบลหรือว่า Interior Design สวยๆพูดถึงประเทศสวีเดนทุกคนนึกถึงอะไรกันบ้างครับวันนี้ผมและทีม The Matter มาอยู่กันที่บ้านพักของเอกอัครราชทูตสวีเดนประจำประเทศไทยท่านทูต Anna Hammargren เดี๋ยวเชิญไปรับชมบทสัมภาษณ์พร้อมๆกันเลยครับSweden is recognized for many things, from the love of design, the welfare and social security systems to the Nobel Prize. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you, and we're going to be hearing all of these things from your perspectives as Swedish ambassador.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure for me also to be here.
What strikes us, first of all, including when we're here at your residence, is the Swedish people's love of and enthusiasm of design, including all of these Scandinavians as well. So I would like to ask first, what drives this passion and how deeply is it embedded in Swedish culture?
I think any country's design sort of reflects the country or the people and the atmosphere as such. For a lot of Swedish people, I think that functionality, simplicity, clear lines is shown through our design. Some rather smart solutions also for furniture. They're comfortable. They have a character that you might note when you just look at them. There's a lot of wood, there's a lot of glass showing our heritage, our nature. I mean, Sweden is to 70% or something covered by forest, right? So of course we have always used wood in both in our furniture design and also in how we construct houses. Glass, you could say it's openness, transparency. So I think it's, that's my view, and I'm not the expert, of course, but that's the feeling I have also when I look at the residence that I have here. That has been specifically designed by Swedish designers.
The next thing is the concept of Lagom, which has always intrigued Thai people. Could you explain what it means in the everyday lives of Swedish people, and does it influence the government policies as well?
Lagom is a very good word, I think. Even if it's very known for being sort of a Swedish concept, I think it does exist in other languages too. It's just not maybe not one simple word for it. It does reflect an interest and an eagerness to balance things, I think. It's both and a willingness to avoid being too extreme, either on this side or on that side. So something in the middle. I think that makes Swedes comfortable. Sometimes we're also very sort of consensus seeking in our way of debating and discussing, which differs from many other countries. But I could also say that it's a balance in general. It's a balance in maybe work life, maybe in personalities as such.
And another thing is Fika, which is often described as a quintessential Swedish tradition. So how does it tell us about the Swedish society as a whole, if we talk about Fika?
The Fika, I think it hopefully tells us about the advantages with taking a rest and maybe taking a breath. And also, as I said, connecting to other ideas and to other people than the ones you work next to all the time. It broadens your perspective, gives you an understanding of what other people do, and definitely also the idea of having a balance in your work life. You need to be more productive, you know. If you're a manager, you think about that too. So people that have a chance to sit down, have a fika, laugh with some colleagues, have a cup of coffee, maybe they go back to their desks or whatever with more of energy.
So I believe it's connected to productivity and innovation as well.
Well, you could, but I think also sort of inclusivity and openness, curiosity, and willing to listen to others.
And creativity then.
Yeah, and a good cup of coffee or tea also.
So Sweden is home to many innovative companies, from Ericsson, Volvo, IKEA to Spotify. If we talk about innovation in Sweden, what are the key factors behind this success, and how involved is the Swedish government in fostering innovation?
That's a question that I think, you know, would be useful for many peoples or companies or governments to know what are the key factors that bring innovation, right? You know, it's $1 million question. But if you can look at some things maybe that I hope we have done right in Sweden is, you know, both the government and companies in Sweden reinvest or invest a lot in research and development. So it's around 3.5% of GDP, which is a lot. A lot of it is done by companies themselves that reinvest. And that could be explained maybe by the fact that a lot of the Swedish bigger companies, the ones you mentioned, come from a tradition of engineering companies. Also in the educational system, I wouldn't say a philosophy, more a pedagogical view, I think, on what is learning? How do you learn? How do you create? How do you become a citizen of a society that wants to move forward? How do you become a student that is valuable to the labor market? And that has been really in our curricula to create critical thinking, to nurturing own ideas, and to see that you create students that are willing to take steps and be innovative in their own minds.
Another thing that is immensely recognized is Sweden's welfare and social security systems, which are often seen as models for other nations, including in Thailand as well. So what exactly are provided in such systems to the Swedish population, and what are the laws that are there to regulate them?
Well, it's really, as you say, it's a societal trademark, so to say. This is the way our society was built. It wasn't done like that just by laws that was sort of adopted one after the other during a short period of time. It's really been something that has been, you know, growing from 100 years back to what we are today. So the model in Sweden is that you get a lot via your tax bill. The pressure of taxes in Sweden is about 40%. And that means that you get free education, free health care, a good pension system, you get a very generous paternity or paternity leave, and those issues are, everybody counts on that, so to say. And I think equality here is of importance. It's generally a trademark also for Sweden, I think, gender equality, and maybe that also could explain partly what we talked about before about innovation, and that is that you use all of the innovative capabilities of the population, both men and women. And that is also promoted by our social welfare system.
So I suppose this is connected to work-life balance as well. How does this, you know, principle of work-life balance manifest in Swedish workplaces, and what role does the government play in supporting this principle?
Not only supporting it, I'd say, I mean, governments, no matter what kind of government, has always sort of promoted this idea. And then you can, if you are a government, you can have very many different incentives, of course. You can have laws and regulations, and you can also use the tax system, so to say, to tax and to give benefits that are directed in different ways. So work-life balance has always been important, and I should say that it has also brought forward in productivity. So it proves that it sort of works to us. Working more doesn't mean that you always raise productivity. It can also be different. Balance on an everyday basis would be balancing times. Everybody should have time to not only work, but to also have spare time, also have a possibility to continue with your education all along your life, if you would prefer to. And that can also be promoted by both government and by your employer, of course, that you should continue to develop yourself.
It's all connected: work-life balance, welfare, productivity, and innovation.
Yes, in a direct or in an indirect way. That's the way we look upon it.
Another signature from Sweden is the Nobel Prize, which is, one of Sweden's most prestigious contributions to the world. Its founder, Alfred Nobel, is also a Swedish. How does it reflect Sweden's broader commitment to in advancing knowledge and education?
Well, I think the Nobel Prize has sort of also become a trademark for Sweden. It's because we have also promoted it like that, I'd say. But the Nobel Prize is given out, as you know, every year. And the way that it was written in the will of Alfred Nobel, the will that created the sum of money that has been put forward and promoted and placed in a good way so that it can generate a sum of money that is paid out every year. He wanted to award this to the greatest benefit to mankind. And how does that reflect from the Swedish idea? I think it reflects a little bit of the sort of broad perspective that we talked about before, that we have on innovation and on progress. It's both themes or areas like literature, the richness maybe of your personality more philosophically. It's economics, it's physics, really down to details and technology. So it's the broader concept of development that is really put forward here. He targeted all these different areas and saw them as promoting sustainability and, greatest benefit to mankind.
So let's talk a bit about the cooperation and diplomatic relations between Sweden and Thailand. But first of all, what strikes us is the Swedish embassy's use of social media.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess you've been following that in order to prepare for this, yes?
Yeah, which has received, considerable praise in Thailand for the insightful and timely and even funny content. Does this reflect the Swedish government's broader emphasis on public diplomacy?
In one way, yes. I think we have been very much encouraged, all the Swedish embassies around the world, to be active on social media. But it's also always a question of adjusting to what country you're in, what target groups you want to target, and what the purpose is of your messaging. So what you see in our social media, it's a collaboration, or it's a mix of all these ideas. We should be active, but we have to see what goes here in Thailand, what channels should we use, what messages are interesting. And as you say, maybe sometimes a little bit funny, sometimes more serious, because we want to, of course, attract the interest of the Thai society. Sometimes some groups more than others. It differs over time, but it's definitely a policy, a general policy from the government of public diplomacy.
And I would say it's been very successful so far.
Okay, well, that's good. You read it apparently and appreciated it. I'm glad.
As for the diplomatic relations, Sweden and Thailand have shared over a century of diplomatic relations. What are some examples of cooperative initiatives that have made, you might say, a tangible impact on the populations of both countries? Could you give us some examples?
Sure. We've had a relation now for over 157 years. Of course, it has changed over time. There's the commercial ties that I think have been, actually this 157 years ago was also linked to trade and navigation and things like that. Today, the commercial ties are exemplified by, for example, 120 Swedish companies being established here in Thailand, doing a lot of good business, a lot of good work, working a lot of in innovation, sustainability, a lot of these areas. Thailand is very popular as a tourist destination for Swedes. 230,000 or something came here last year. And we have to think about that Sweden only has 10 million people in its country, right? The country has only 10 million inhabitants. So it's a lot. It's a big share that goes to Thailand. I appreciate Thailand very much. And there are actually 70,000 Thai living in Sweden, which is maybe the biggest community in Europe. So the relations are I'd say, in all different areas, in all different spheres. And I should also mention the academic cooperation that we have. So it's business, it's politics, it's academic, it's people to people, which is really, that creates maybe, I wouldn't say the strongest, but a very, very strong bond between our countries. I have a lot of very good contacts also with the Thai embassy in Stockholm that, of course, are working in the other end, but for the same purpose to promote our bilateral relations.
Could you share some of your personal and professional experiences from your time as a Swedish diplomat that might be of particular interest for the Thai audience?
Well, I think being a diplomat is a privilege. It's not an easy job. It's not getting easier and easier, maybe the other way around. But it's a job that if you're a curious person and an open person, then it's very, very rewarding. So that's one reflection, general reflection. Then I think another experience is that you learn, when you're a diplomat, when you live abroad, you learn a lot, of course, about the country you're in, and that's where you're interested, but you also learn a lot about your own country because you put on other glasses when you look at your own country.
To really conclude this interview on a reflective note, how would you look back at your tenure as ambassador in Bangkok and what lies ahead in the future, both for you as ambassador and for the Swedish government?
I hope to stay here a couple of years more. I've only been here for a year and a half, so hopefully I can stay on some more years. During that time, I hope that we will strengthen our relations. I hope that there will be more business between our countries. We have a lot of different things going on. We see a lot of requests from different companies to come and invest. I hope to see some of them moving forward, but I also hope after I have left, things will continue, and I'm sure they will. I have very many good Swedish colleagues that I'm sure would want to take up the torch and continue the good work.